Hello, my name is John Grimes and I serve as Ohio State University Extension's Beef Coordinator. Today in this video we will be discussing the economic outlook for the beef industry in 2018. This picture depicts one of the most exciting days of the year for the beef cow-calf producer, the birth of a new calf. Many hours of planning and labor and significant financial investment were necessary for this event to take place. The cow-calf enterprise mirrors many aspects of the entire beef industry. History tells us what brought us to today's events. Many factors will play a role in the future success of the new calf as well as the beef industry as a whole. As of January 1, 2017, the National Ag Statistics Service reported that there were 31,210,200 beef cows in the United States. This number is up 2.9% from the previous year. The 2018 inventory is expected to be approximately 31.9 million beef cows, an increase of roughly 700,000 beef cows. Ohio currently ranks 29th in beef cow numbers at 288,000 head. This slide graphically demonstrates the significant fluctuations in the size of the nation's beef cow herd since 1980. The past 10 years have been very eventful. The economic downturn in 2008 started a herd reduction that reached lows in 2014 not seen in over 60 years. Record high prices and favorable forage conditions have encouraged producers to expand the nation's cow herd by approximately 2.8 million head since 2014. Data from CattleFax indicates that beef cows were not the only production group to see an increase in numbers this past year. The calf crop, feeder and calf supply outside feedlots, and total cattle numbers each increased by 2% in 2017. So where are we headed with beef cow numbers? As I stated earlier, the United States beef cow herd has grown by 2.8 million head in the past 4 years. Tighter cow-calf profit margins and pasture conditions are transitioning the sector from expansion mode to stabilization. We can expect more cow culling and less heifer retention in 2018, and there will be some additional cow herd growth expected to plateau by 2020. Drought has certainly had an impact on the size of the nation's beef cow herd throughout this decade. This picture is the U.S. Drought Monitor map as of the week before Christmas in 2017. Large areas in the upper Midwest, southern plains, and southwest are experiencing moderate to exceptional drought at this time. The possibility of a La Niña weather pattern could magnify drier conditions and merits close monitoring in the coming year. This graph depicts historic trends for U.S. cattle inventory and beef production. Cattle inventories are expected to surpass 95 million head in 2018. This is the same cattle inventory as we experienced in 1954. However, 2018 beef production is expected to be 2.2 times higher than in 1954 at 27.3 billion pounds. The trend of increased beef production per head essentially began in 1982 and has improved ever since. This is a testament to the productivity and efficiency of the beef industry and production agriculture as a whole. The beef industry can expect more cattle on feed and more feeder cattle in the marketplace this year. In 2018, fed cattle harvest is expected to increase by 900,000 head, or up 3%, and cull, bull, and cow harvest should increase by 300,000 head, or an increase of 6%. Commercial beef production is expected to be 26.1 billion pounds in 2017. Beef production is expected to increase by 5% to 27.3 billion pounds in 2018. For the third straight year, per capita supplies for pork and poultry set a new record, and it is expected to make the trend 4 consecutive years in 2018. The broiler and pork sectors are profitable as historically weak grain prices are driving input costs lower and prompting additional expansion. This table shows the per capita net meat consumption and the net consumption for beef, pork, and chicken. Per capita meat consumption is nearing similar levels seen prior to the economic downturn of 2008. Note that each of the three species are expecting increases in per capita consumption in 2018. U.S. median household income levels have fluctuated greatly over the past 10 years. After bottoming out earlier this decade, median household incomes grew 8%, or $5,000 from 2014 through 2016. This is the largest two-year increase in more than 30 years. Annual retail beef demand declined 2% in 2017 but surpassed industry expectations for the year. Beef demand is expected to decline another 1% in 2018. However, the 2017 and 2018 levels are well above the index long-term average over the past 20 years. What are the implications for beef and other proteins given the consumption and economic data? Per capita supplies of beef and competing proteins continue to grow. Also, historically weak grain prices are driving expansion of protein production for the immediate future. Consumers are buying more protein as household incomes improve, and these consumers have changing preferences that are impacting the restaurant sector. Fine dining and fast food segments are finding success, but casual dining is struggling. The millennials, the group born from the early 1980s through the early 2000s, are becoming the dominant spending demographic in the United States. They are choosing independent restaurants and home-cooked meals over national chains. How important are exports to the United States beef, pork, and broiler sectors? They're very important. In 2017, the United States exported approximately 11% of the beef, 16% of the poultry, and 21% of all pork produced. Beef exports grew by 13% in 2016 and will increase by 11% in 2017. Beef exports are expected to increase by 6% in 2018, but continued herd expansion in Australia represents the greatest threat to U.S. beef sales in the global market. This graph demonstrates the balance between U.S. beef imports and exports. Export tonnage has increased significantly since the devastating discovery of BSE, also better known as mad cow disease, in the U.S. in December of 2003. Imports of beef are expected to hold steady in 2018 and essentially balance out exports. Mexico and Australia are growing as U.S. beef importers and are a source of less marbled whole muscle cuts and lean beef trimmings. So what is the importance of exports to the beef industry? They are the key factor in dealing with rapidly expanding protein supplies. They can be volatile due to trade agreements, currency valuations, and worldwide competition. Remember that beef trade with China formally reopened in 2017. There is currently limited access due to strict requirements regarding animal traceability and restrictions on most growth promotants and other additives. As the middle class grows across the globe and in Southeast Asia in particular, there will be an increasing demand for meat protein. It took over a decade for beef imports to return to pre-BSE levels. As you can see from these figures from the U.S. Meat Export Federation, exports provide a significant economic impact to the United States beef industry by exceeding $6 billion in sales annually since 2013. This slide shows the top U.S. beef export markets in 2016, which comprised roughly 84% of the total beef exports for that calendar year. Coming in first is Japan with 23.8% of the exports, then South Korea at 16.7%, Mexico at 15.4%, Canada at 12%, Hong Kong at 10.8%, and Taiwan at 5.7%. To summarize, beef exports are expected to increase in volume by 11% in 2017. Year-to-date exports for 2017 total over $5.2 billion. Year-to-date 2017 leading export destinations are Japan, South Korea, Canada, Mexico, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. And remember that Australia is the greatest threat to U.S. beef sales in the global marketplace. Consumers continue to send a message to the beef industry that there is a demand for branded choice and higher quality grade beef products. This graph from the 2016 National Beef Quality Audit demonstrates that the beef industry has responded to the voice of the consumer. Improved genetics, nutrition, and health programs have allowed producers to increase the percentage of carcasses grading choice and prime by 16% over the past 25 years. Select quality grade and unbranded beef will receive significant discounts to choice and higher quality graded beef as supplies increase. This chart further demonstrates the impact of consumer demand on the beef industry. In 2006, the percentage of total fed cattle harvested grading USDA Select was over 30% greater than the percentage of cattle meeting certified Angus beef grading standards. Over an 11-year period, including 2017, the percentage of total fed cattle harvest meeting CAB grading standards today actually exceeds the cattle grading USDA Select. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, "the customer is always right." This phrase is probably truer than ever. Today's food consumer is more knowledgeable and discriminating with their food purchasing dollars. Younger consumers in particular are actively researching, reading, and talking about beef production issues. They want more information about animal welfare, humane treatment of animals, and they want to know exactly how cattle are raised and what measures of impact on beef production in the environment. The marketplace is aggressively competing for the consumer's attention and dollars. Such examples include Walmart's Upper Choice Angus program, Amazon purchasing Whole Foods, then slashing prices, retailers aggressively competing for market share, and rapid growth of home-delivered meal kits. This graph charts price movements for 550-pound calves, 750-pound feeder calves, and fed cattle from 2012 through 2017. It dramatically demonstrates the record high prices seen for all classes of cattle in 2014 and 2015. These high prices obviously encouraged the expansion numbers over the past 4 years. Also note the dramatic drop in prices in the second half of 2016 and the solid rebound in prices in 2017. Especially with feeder cattle. CattleFax has projected the 2018 price outlook for various categories of cattle and beef in this following slide. Increased supplies of cattle, greater competition from other proteins, and steady trade project out to lower prices in most categories of cattle and beef in 2018. This chart from CattleFax reflects the overall profitability of the cow-calf, stocker, feedlot, and packer sectors of the beef industry over the past 30 years. 2017 will be remembered as a year of recovery for the cattle segments of the industry compared to the tough financial conditions of a year ago. On a cash basis, it will be the second most profitable year on record, only to be eclipsed by 2014. Note that 2017 is forecast to be one of those years where all of the major cattle sectors are going to be profitable. This is truly healthy for the entire beef industry. So what are the primary threats and challenges to the beef industry as we move forward? The economy. Consumer confidence is high and household incomes are increasing. Will it be enough to keep up with herd expansion? Trade. What is the future of NAFTA and policy with Japan or Southeast Asia? The weather. Drier conditions are being forecast across the country. What will be the impact on expansion? Harvest capacity. Can the packing industry keep up with additional cattle supplies? Competing proteins. Pork and poultry are ramping up production to gain domestic and global customers. What will be the impact of plant-based burgers and lab-grown meat with today's consumer? Keep in mind that there are several opportunities available to producers in the beef industry today. Retained ownership may be an attractive option for cow-calf producers depending on calf weaning weights and management flexibility. Backgrounding can be an option if you have available forages to allow you to achieve favorable cost of gains. Developing replacement females, bred heifers, and young cows is a strong potential market, and current retained ownership in the feedlot continues to look positive based on the feeder cattle market and expected break-evens based on the cattle cost and feed cost. As we summarize this presentation, keep in mind that U.S. beef herd expansion has slowed after 4 years of rapid expansion. Weather conditions have been favorable in recent years across much of the country, which has resulted in improved pasture conditions and moderate grain prices. However, weather challenges have become more prevalent over the past year. Grain yields will continue to be the key price-determining factor in the upcoming marketing year, as there are low expectations for any major acreage or demand shifts. Look for beef, pork, and poultry production to continue to increase. Future growth in export markets will be necessary to keep supply and demand in balance. Quality grade and other market specifications will become increasingly more important in merchandising U.S. beef both domestically and globally. And keep in mind that commodity cycles are an economic reality, and these things can quickly change under specific circumstances. Basic supply and demand economics have been in play throughout the beef industry in this decade. Producers have been very responsive to the economic signals in 2014 and 2015 and have rapidly increased the size of the nation's beef cow herd over the past 4 years. More cattle will result in downward pressure on prices. This negative price pressure can be minimized in 2018 if domestic and global demand for U.S. beef increases. Producers that can find a balance between overall production, managing costs, and producing a product that the consumer desires should have a sustainable future in the beef cattle industry. If you have any questions about this presentation, feel free to contact me. I am based out of the OSU South Centers at Piketon. I can be reached on my office phone at 740-289-2071, extension 242, my cell phone at 937-763-6000, or by email at grimes.1@osu.edu. I would also encourage you to visit the OSU Extension Beef Team's website at u.osu.edu/beefteam/ to find the most relevant beef cattle information available to Ohio cattlemen.